What's poppin', guys? I'm back with another one. Today I want to talk about street rules, you know, things to know, how to move on the road, and how to behave, as a youngin' coming up. My videos are always geared towards you young guys from 18 anywhere to like even up to my age. So yeah, these are some things that you should just know when you're out on the roads, when you're in your social group, when you're with people who when you're with people who you don't know what to think about them fully. First thing you got to recognize and realize is that you can only know and trust someone as far as you can throw them. That's the whole saying, right? I can only trust you as far as I can throw you, right? And what that means for me, or what I think about that is, you know, the people who I trust the most are the people who I know the most about, simply put. Generally, as a general rule, I don't really put a lot of trust in people unless I know their moms, their dads, unless I've met both their parents or I've been to their cribs on several occasions. Even though those people can still sneak you out. But just as a general rule, if you're on roads and you don't know someone, and you don't really know whether you should trust them, just think about it. If you don't know their parents or their moms, or like you don't know their moms, you don't know their pops, you don't know any of their siblings or anybody that they live with or lay with, or you don't know where they lay, it's super hard to trust that person, especially if you've known that person for a long time and they kind of refuse to bring you around them. It's different when you met someone for the first time. Even though people you meet for the first time, you can't trust anybody really. So I guess the whole idea is you should never trust anybody fully, right? But even less trust people that you know even less about. Okay? So let's get into it. The first code of the road is to respect the people who are the quietest and the most silent. The people who are silent are usually the most deadliest, and the people who have the most things on their mind that they're thinking about. You know, quietness does not mean passivity, right? Most people know that when you don't have anything to say, then you shouldn't say any. I guess not a lot of people know. When you don't have anything to say, you shouldn't say anything at all, right? So the people who know this and the people who can respect this rule or code or whatever, those are the people that you should be wary of, right? If you're in a group of people and you're outside or whatever, and there's one person that's just quiet, just consider for a second that this person could be talking, but they're not, right? They've already went through in their head that they could be talking or making fun, making jokes or whatever, but they're not doing that. Why are they omitting from doing that? Why are they choosing not to talk? There's a difference between someone who doesn't know what to say and someone who chooses not to say anything. Don't confuse this, right? There are people who are there who just don't know what to say because they're a little socially awkward, right? And that's different. I'm talking about the people where you will directly engage with them, you'll directly say something to them, and they will just give you like a one-liner or two-liner. They don't explain, or they don't like talk and build sentences and dialogue and stories. They just keep it simple and they just keep on moving. Those are the type of people, those are the quiet people who are the most silent, the most deadliest, and you don't really want to mess with them because you never know what the consequences could be, right? Second code of the road is you give people as much respect as they give you. Generally, if you're with a group of people and you're meeting them for the first time, generally you want to be respectful in general, right? But if you're not reciprocated, then immediately don't reciprocate back. Like if you hail somebody up and somebody's just giving you a dead vibes, you never know. So maybe they're going through something or maybe they're having a bad time. But I'm talking about when you feel malicious intent, and whenever you have to question yourself or you have that gut feeling, you always gotta, listen to that feeling, right? You never want to really give respect to people who don't respect you back, or for people who just see you differently, because mainly people judge you based on a few things: how you behave or how you move, which is basically whether you act like you're goofy, whether you're very quiet, whether you're a very serious person, whether you're nonchalant, whether you're laid back. People judge you based on all of those things. And the people who judge you, everyone is different. Everybody has their own personality and what they respect, right? Some people who are quiet respect other people, quiet people. Some people who are joyful and playful respect joyful and playful people. I'm not saying that joy, like that's the correlation, they match because they are like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that everybody has their own personality as well as you having your own personality, right? And people aren't gonna, you don't score respect points for having a certain personality. You score respect points for staying true to who you want to be, for not giving or bending to anyone's will just because. If you're a silent person and you don't talk and you're outside with people and people keep on talking to you and you giving them one liners, then that's who you are. You're silent and you have your reasons to be. Don't feel like you got to change who you are because other people, that's how you lose, that's how people lose respect for you, especially people who've known you for a while, right? Another way, how respect is passed on and whatever is through your actions, right? When you're outside with people, nothing ever happens until something happens. Nothing pops off until something pops off. But when something pops off, those are the moments where you're judged even more so than everything else before. Because those are the moments that people are going to remember, and those are the moments that people are going to remember you for, right? Which is why it's important when you're outside, the less you can say is the better. When you're outside with friends or when you're outside with anybody else, if you're outside with friends and they're all your close friends and you guys have been around each other for years, then sure, fuck around. But if you're outside on roads and you're like doing things and you're making moves or whatever, and you don't know any of these people, then the less you say usually is the better, but everybody's their own personality, right? So you just got to keep these things in mind, right? The next point that I want to make is that there are some things in life that no one really knows, and you shouldn't really make any assumptions of anyone, right? When you see someone, you don't have to assume that this person is that, this person is that, that person is that. Because judgments and judging people only locks your mind. It freezes your mind into having any other opinion besides the opinion that you previously held. The thing with people is people are always changing. People are always changing people are always changing what they do, which in turn changes how you think about them or how you react. Just because you're outside and you see like somebody and you're like, oh, this guy's like a hobo or whatever, this guy's like a homeless person or this girl's like a bum or whatever. That might be true for the moment, but it doesn't mean that you should treat that person based on what your judgment of them is, right? And this is where respect comes into play, right? You still want to give respect to that person and speak to them like a human being because we're all human beings at the end of the day. But if that person comes and is disrespectful to you, then that's a different situation. It doesn't matter if they're a hobo, a bum, or a millionaire. Like, you shouldn't take disrespect from anyone because that's just how it is. If you allow that to happen to yourself, then guess what? People now know that they can get away with being disrespectful to you. It's kind of like when you're in jail or prison or whatever, there are just a certain amount of rules, unspoken rules, that just run the place. Once people find out that you're a pushover, people will push you over and push your limits and push your buttons to see how far they can go, right? But typically, nobody ever assumes what they see on the surface. Some people are what they try to be on the surface. Some people have hidden agendas, right? A lot of people have hidden agendas, which is why it's so hard to deal with everybody, because everybody has their own way of how they'd rather deal with any situation or how they'd rather deal with you in any given situation, right? Which is why life is so complicated and life is so complex, right? Another major rule of the road or another major road code is, just observe. Learn to observe and learn to be observant, right? Observing and listening tie hand in hand. The less you speak and the more you listen and the more you just watch and observe is crazy. Whenever I go out on the roads, no matter where I am, there's one thing I learned from my older brother is like you can talk, but like listen more than you speak, and always observe your surroundings. Always observe your surroundings. Whenever you're on the road or you go to a club, wherever you go, whenever I go to a club or I go to a bar or a party, I'm chilling with my friends, but I always take a minute to step outside of the friend group and just walk around and feel out the scene. Just see what's happening, see who's in this party, see the types of faces, see everything, you know, get a layout of the place. It sounds a little crazy, it sounds a little whack, but if shit pops off or things go south, I know where some things are, and I've seen some of these people's faces, right? And when I'm doing my perimeter, scouting the perimeter or whatever, I'm always observant and watching other people, watching their moves, watching their decisions, and watching what they're doing, you know? It's good to be friendly sometimes, but like, it's more important to be observant, right? Speak less, listen to people more, right? And just observe. This kind of leads into my next point, which is it's good to have conversations with people that are just for conversation's sake. Maybe this is what short talk should actually mean versus what it versus like just having like, hey, how's the weather type of conversations. But whenever you're outside with people, I'm talking about not like guys, like you're outside with your boys, but like you're in a party, you're in a club or whatever, you should still go around and have conversations with people who spark your interest. I'm not talking about girls, I'm talking about other guys, like, you know, like other dudes, like, you know, like you should go and have like a regular conversation, just be like, you know, like what's up, how's this party, you know, like how do you find it, how do you like it, ask people questions, get to know people, right? Not for the sake of achieving anything in per se, but for the sake of expanding your knowledge. The more you know is the more you can act on, right? So talking to them is not for any aim or any gain in particular, but just to know more about people. But you should also be cautious, because there's always groups of people that don't agree with other groups of people. So you should be very, very cautious with who you approach, right? It should really just be a few people. You don't have to talk to the whole entire club or the whole entire party, right? That's not the point. What I'm saying is, talk to the interesting faces and the people that pique your interest, right? But be very careful with who you talk to. This one is not a double-edged sword, but it's the more better you become in observing and listening, is the more you can pick out who you want to listen to, right? And what situations you want to observe, right? But just be a little careful, right? Because you don't want to talk to one group of person and then go talk to another group of person only to find out both of those groups hate each other, and then you get thrown in the mix, right? So, which is why it's important to observe, because if you had observed ahead of time, you would have seen that these people don't fuck with each other clearly, right? But yeah, those were just I guess 4 or 5 of my road tips or road rules, or how to move on roads. Just keep in mind that when you're on the road, anything can happen, and shit can pop off in any way it seems. So never let your guard down. Always stay 10 toes down, always stay on guard, always expect the worst thing to happen. Which is why what my mom always says, or always is usually the best piece of advice, the best thing to do is just stay at your house, stay at home, you know, but it's not always possible. Anyways, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, let the algorithm know this is the type of type of content you want to see, and let me know what you guys want to see next. You know, still got that video out that I promised you guys, that secret's still coming out, I forgot nothing, still working on it, it's coming out soon, just wait on it, you know. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, peace out.